For this week's video, we're going to use a photograph in Illustrator, and we're going to use the brush tools to create a watercolor painting from a photograph. So I've already set up my document. It's 8.5 by 11. It's in landscape, and I've saved the file as watercolor landscape. And now I'm going to place an image that I've pre-selected. I'm going to use this boat image here. When I place this, I want to make sure if you're going to turn this in, you want to uncheck link, and I do want to check template. That's going to put this image in on its own locked template layer, and it's going to set it up as a template. So it'll be at a 50% opacity. I'm going to resize it so it fits my page here. And I'm just holding the shift key to make sure that I keep that sizing proportional. Now remember, when you have a template, one of the template options is that this document is going to show up. I'm going to choose the options here. It's going to show up dimmed to 50%. If I uncheck that and click OK, that layer was locked, so it didn't do anything for me. There we go. Now it gives me the image at its full color. I don't want that for this particular project. It's very helpful to me, at least, to not have that at full value. So I'm going to go ahead and click dim, click OK, and now it dims back down. For this project, we're going to work specifically with two different types of brushes. One are calligraphic brushes, the other are natural bristle brushes. Our brush tool is right here. The hotkey for that tool is the letter B. Notice it's one of the few tools that doesn't have a little black arrow in the corner where we can pull out lots of other tools. And the reason for that is that our brushes panel gives us all kinds of options. We'll be making new brushes, so we're going to click the new brush button. And when we do that, because we have nothing selected, we have a couple of options. The first one is a calligraphic brush, and that's what we're going to start by making. And a calligraphic brush mimics a calligraphy pen. So this is the shape of our nib, and I'm going to call this calligraphic. I'm going to call it Betsy's brush, Betsy's calligraphic brush. You can call yours whatever you like. And I'm going to pull this tip down because I would like to have a more angled tip. And I'm also going to, I think I'll leave it at 9 pixels. I can make it larger or smaller if I need to. So that's what I'm going to set my brush at, 53 degrees, a 20% roundness. The less round this is, the more sharp that brush becomes. I had that at right about 20. And I'm going to leave it at 9 points. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And when I do, up in my brushes panel, I now have this new brush, and if I hover right over that, you'll see it's called Betsy's calligraphic brush. And for this assignment, what I'm going to do, this assignment is actually very simple on some layers. On some levels, I'm going to call this layer calligraphic strokes. The assignment itself is not particularly difficult. What is going to be difficult about this assignment is attention to detail and patience. So I'm going to just take my paintbrush, and I'm going to begin to come in and just paint these brush strokes. Paint the boat and the ocean. In this case, I happen to have white selected, which isn't really what I want. So I'm going to use my black arrow tool, select those, and I can quickly change the color to black. And the 9 pixel brush to me seems a little big. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my brushes panel. I'm going to double click on this brush, my Betsy's calligraphic brush. When I do that, it's going to bring up those brush options that we set originally, and I'm going to change this to 4 pixels and click OK. And when I do that, it's going to ask me if I would like to apply that to the existing strokes that I already have. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to do that. And so now I have these thinner brush strokes, and I'm going to go back to my brush tool and continue to follow the shape of this boat. Now, the beautiful thing about this project is you're allowing yourself to make some mistakes, have some things that aren't exactly perfect. We're mimicking the look of watercolor here, and we're actually putting in the bold strokes first. I'm going to continue out to the beach, and we'll put in the little green pieces of the beach here. And notice that our brush sort of, if I make a really zigzaggy line, it smooths it out. And if I don't like the way that that is happening, I can double click on my brush tool. By double clicking on my brush tool, I'm actually going to bring up the paintbrush tool options. And I can choose to keep this brush really honest as far as where I paint. Do I want it to stay exactly there? In this case, I'm going to tell it stay within 1 pixel of my line, and I'm going to tell it I don't really want you to smooth it out for me. And so when I do that, the brush tends to behave exactly like my line. It will smooth it out a little bit. That's the nature of the brush, but it does leave the really textured line of my design. However, if I want something that's a little more painterly, I can tell it go ahead and you can worry about where my line is within about 20 pixels and go ahead and smooth it out so that they're all nice and smooth. And when I do that, if I come do this same sort of jiggy line, notice it smooths it out much nicer. So somewhere, you'll probably want somewhere in the middle. I tend to like it to be pretty honest with where I put my line. I also can ask it to fill my brush strokes. I don't like filled brush strokes. I find it distracting. I can ask it to keep my brush strokes selected when I'm done so I can add to them, or I can ask it to edit selected brush strokes if they're already close. So if I have this brush stroke selected and I come in with my paintbrush, Illustrator will edit that path. I don't particularly like it when it does that. I really prefer that it just leave my work alone. So the first step is that we're going to outline our entire image. All the details of our image, I'm going to clean some of those up. And one of the fun things about Illustrator brushes as opposed to Photoshop brushes is that I can come in and I can edit these brushes. So these brush strokes. I can choose these brush strokes here and I can change their size, make them smaller. I can change their width profile. Remember, we played with this in a previous assignment. I can change their color. So really, I end up with a lot of potential to really make an interesting illustration. I also can, with that line selected, I can come grab my eyedropper tool and I can actually pull a color from my photograph. And that's what we're going to be doing for sure in the next part of this assignment. Once we have all these lines drawn in, the nice thing is you can work back and forth as you work on this assignment. We're going to fit our artboard back in the window. And I'm going to grab my pen here again and we're going to put some, I want to get, I actually want to have my no color there. Sorry about that. I want no color for my fill. And for my stroke, I'm going to go ahead and use my eyedropper tool and come get, the blue of the ocean here. And I'm going to grab my paintbrush and I'm going to put a few more strokes in the ocean. The next tool that we're going to use for this assignment is the bristle brushes. The bristle brushes are designed to mimic actual paint brushes that you would use in traditional painting. So we're going to go ahead and click New again, New Brush button. And this time, rather than picking calligraphic, I'm going to pick Bristle Brush. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And when I do, I'm going to get a completely different dialog box this time. We'll call it Betsy's Bristle Brush. And I want to choose, I like a round, a flat curve brush. This is one of my favorite brushes in real life. And I want sort of short, low density brushes, but I want them to be coarse. I want my paint to be sort of translucent, and I like my brush to be sort of rigid. Make that a little bit wider. As I make changes, you'll see that here I have a preview of what those brush strokes are going to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and I'm going to come into my image, make a new layer. I'm going to call this color. And then what I'm going to do is with that new brush, remember we just made that new brush, it shows up right here. I'm going to come in here and paint in some of the waves of this image. And one of the really interesting things about these bristle brushes, let me turn off our template, is that they stack, they're a little bit transparent. So as you create more and more of these, as you change colors with them, you can begin to really build up this incredible watercolor image. The nice thing about this is these are layers. I can go rearrange them. So if I want my strokes on top, if I have one path in particular that's not quite the color I want it to be, I can change that. And so for your assignment this week, you're going to finish an entire photographic image. This assignment is in our textbook, and it's on page 102. And as usual, if you have any questions, shoot me an email, and otherwise we'll can't wait to see what you do.